I had a dream by then, and my dream was very clear. It had to be something, it had to do something with metal, because that was my background. Metal, technique, engineering, and that's it. And I spread the word around, like, do you know a company that I can buy? And somebody showed up, and he offered me ALDOA, this specific company, and I bought this more or less overnight.
Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and video show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. I'm your host, Frits Bussemaker, and today I'm delighted and privileged to have a conversation with Allard Droste. Allard, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nice to talk to you, Frits.
Hey, allow me to introduce Allard, who Allard is. He's an entrepreneur. He calls himself a professional dreamer. He is the owner of ALDOA, a metalworking company which won numerous prizes. And that experience he also shared in a book called Semco in the Polder. He's also the initiator of Growing by Sharing. And last year, he gave away 100,000 euros of his own money to strangers affected by Corona. So that's Allard in a nutshell. But Allard, I actually just want to dive in the deep end. In 2007, you bought a company called ALDOA, a metalworking company, but out of the blue. You did not have an entrepreneurial background. Your family did not have that. Why did you do that? What happened?
I'm still wondering why I did. I bought this company and made the switch from working for a big Dutch company and dived into the field of entrepreneurship. I don't know. I felt some hunger for a new adventure. I'm very opportunistic. I'm a bit naive, or maybe sometimes very naive. And I thought, what the heck? Let's make a move. But basically, the main reason was the fact that I was a bit bored by working within a big corporate, within a big company. I had different ideas about work-life balance, about how to solve problems, how to deal with a client, etc., etc. And I said, at a certain point, I said to myself, okay, if I have these specific ideas, why don't make the big move and try to I don't know, to work with it and create your own environment. And so that's why I bought this existing company. Yeah.
Okay. Well, of all the companies probably out for sale, why did you select this one?
Maybe, if you believe it or not, it was the first and only company that was on my list. I had a very short list. I had this dream of buying an existing company, first of all, because I didn't have my own idea just to start with my own company. So the only option was to buy an existing company. And I had a dream by then, and my dream was very clear. It had to be something, it had to do something with metal, because that was my background. Metal, technique, engineering, and that's it. And I spread the word around, like, do you know a company that I can buy? And somebody showed up, and he offered me ALDOA, this specific company. And I bought this more or less overnight, after just 2 visits, drinking coffee with the owners by then, and it felt good, so I bought it. Yeah.
So you really trust your gut feeling and with these very big decisions? Yeah,
I always work with my gut feelings, my instinct. With, I don't know, ratio, but my mind is always there, but I trust my own gut feeling. It's not always correct, I must say, but it feels good. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So after 2 visits, you bought the company.
Yes.
So what do you tell the employees which were still out there? And by the way, how big was that company? How many people? All of a sudden, you were an employer of a number of people. How many people was that?
13 when I started in 2007. 13, we had a turnover of 2.5 million euros. So a pretty small, decent company. 2007, economy was doing well. So I got a good loan from the banks, and I was in business with a small group, 13 people. Yeah, and it felt good. They were making a profit the years before I took over. There were clients, bunch of equipment, big hall. We were a co-supplier for metal sheet products. Yeah, and that's how I started, Fitz.
Okay, so what do you tell your new employees that, okay, my gut feeling was after 2 meetings, I'm going to buy your company? How did they react? Did they trust your gut feeling?
No, they were highly surprised, because if the group of employees, the youngest had, I think, 17 years of working for this company. The oldest were 2 guys working there already for the full 32 years. The company was 32 years old. So there was no fresh blood. And all these people were so used to the previous owners, the way they worked, the way they dealt with each other. And there, all of a sudden, there was this new guy, young, early in his 30s, very enthusiastic, again, very opportunistic and naive. And they looked at me like, who the heck are you? And what are you going to do with us? That was their first reaction, more or less.
Yes.
And again, I was very enthusiastic, and I started this first week with knowing each other and knowing the business, etc. But to tell you the truth, but that's what I can tell you after many years. By then I was not so open-minded or showed my vulnerability. After a week I drove home and I was completely in tears, because by then it just took me 5 days to realize that I bought a shitty, lousy, almost torn down, broke down, on the point of going bankrupt company.
Okay. That's when the skeletons came out of the closet.
Yes, sir.
But somehow you survived. So how did that happen?
Now, I was completely in tears, but I'm born and raised by of course, my parents, but my father was in the army, and I was born and raised with when you go in for a penny, you go for a pound. Is that the right expression?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's your own responsibility, and I had the I don't know, I was the only one to blame what I did, and that I bought this company. So I picked myself up and went back into the company on Monday, and I said to myself, okay, let's make the best out of it. So that's what I did, and it took me more or less 6-7 years to make a complete turnover of this company. Yeah. And with the same people, and that's very interesting, because I was a bit weird in a way, not weird, for them I was weird, in a way that my way of working is completely different to most companies, in a way that in my world, in my way of working, on number one is always have fun, passion, go for it. That's sort of expressions like make the best out of it. And if it all starts with passion, with have fun, whatever you're doing. Secondly, it's whatever you do it as best as possible. If you say yes, then it's a yes. If you need to, I don't know, to sell 10 items, it has to be 10 and not 11 or 9. And then third of all, then you have the result in that order. In many companies, most companies I've visited or worked for, it's exactly the way around. It's all about result. Mm-hmm. You have to make money for the shareholders or the owner or whatever by doing it the best as possible. And if there's some fun or passion or whatever, then it's okay, but that's not the obligation or the responsibility of the owner or the shareholder or whatever. And in my world, it's exactly the way around. And people had to get used to it, my employees, the group of people, of 13 people. But that took me some while, because, yeah, again, they had to get used to it. Yeah.
Okay, and the original 13 employees, they all decided to stay. They all wanted to make that change.
Yeah, and that's bizarre. I'm still surprised in a way that, and that's for me, that's a, I don't know, that's a proof that everybody can change, first of all, and secondly, that everybody likes to work in an environment where it's all about, again, passion, fun, results, and are doing as good as possible, and then the results in that order. And out of the 13 people up till now, 13 years later, there are, I think, still 10 of them. One unfortunately died, and 2 others were at the end of their career.
Yeah, so they retired. So, so you also wrote a book about the Semco in the polder. So is there a resemblance with how, so I assume like how Ricardo Semble managed his companies?
Yeah, what we did over this period of 6, 7, 8 years, and I must say up till now, because it's ever changing, but we implemented some guidelines or some basic, not rulings, but it was all, and that resembles, I think, the way Ricardo Semble works in Brazil. Is, first of all, it's all about trust. I implemented trust, and not a bit of trust, but 100% trust. I gave trust to everybody around me, so they were able to buy their own goods. They were able to bring out their own quotation without any management or signature needed. They were allowed to say, how do you say, to come up with their own salary, working hours, whatever. There were no rules. So 100% trust, first of all, and secondly, own responsibility. And that comes hand in hand in my way of working. Own responsibility. We are all adults. We can manage our own lives in one way or another. So why don't you have your own responsibility at your job? So we got rid of all the rulings, like there's a management team, there are job descriptions, exact working hours, daily meetings. We all got rid of that. And instead, we got in return just a bunch of people, a group of ordinary people, highly educated, low educated, highly experienced, or trainees or whatever.
Okay.
A bunch of group of people with a lot of passion, own responsibility, and a lot of trust. Yeah.
So again, a great story of what trust leads to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's bizarre. It's bizarre if you look around. Everybody wants to be trusted. The way around. You want that somebody else trusts you for the fully 100%. But to give trust to another, that's very difficult. And the bizarre thing is, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And I can guarantee you, if you work with trust, you trust your teammates, you trust your client, you give them the 100% trust, magic will happen. People will work their butt off. They come up with good ideas. They will make mistakes, but they will solve their own mistakes, etc., etc. Yeah,
sounds
great.
Like, yeah. So may I assume that that's the big lesson learned? Give people trust, and you will be rewarded. Yeah, that's. I think so. And I don't know. As a child, the word trust is common sense. Mm-hmm. The moment we go into primary school, high school, we have our first job, etc., etc. Trust is a bit diluted by all the rulings, by the way we deal with each other. Yeah, okay. And that's a pity, in my opinion. Okay, that's good to realize that. Now, I want to move on, and well, I want to share with you. You once said, as a society, we are rich in property, but poor in life. And my dream is that this crisis, the current crisis, we will change that. Now, what triggered you to make that statement?
because first of all, I live in the Netherlands, and it's a rich society. It's well organized in general. But what I meant by rich in property and poor in life is that we tend to have a how do you say, we care a lot about stuff. It's always bigger, higher, more profit, bigger car, bigger career, but we forgot to look around and take care of the people around us. And I was once, for example, in Uganda, and that's a country I think is poor in a way that they have not a lot of money, no big cars, no big houses, no careers that it's a simple life. But if I looked around, I saw a lot of smiling people, happy people. So for them it was the way around. They were poor in property, poor in material, in a material way, but they were very happy being alive, being together as a society.
Okay.
And
now, is that also, when I introduce you, I also share with the audience that you gave away 100,000 euros of your own money. Was that the trigger, that observation? Look, I need to do something about that. And by the way, if you have that idea, how do you find the people you want to give it to?
Oh, that was again. That was also very opportunistic and a bit naive in a way that you only had to send me a signal by either a message, a LinkedIn message, or an email or whatever, and just reaching out to me, and I sent you $1,000 or euros. Yeah. But no explanation. Again, trust.
Yeah, because I can imagine that soon as the word gets out, you will get a lot of, I would say, misuse of that situation. Yeah, or maybe,
but again, trust. I trust people, and maybe out of the 100 people I gave money to, maybe there's one or two that take a disadvantage of it. Okay. But that doesn't. I want to concentrate on the people that are. That are positive in life and that I can trust, etc. So my focus is always on the bright side of life. Okay. But it was just a statement that we're look after each other, take care of each other. It can be very simple. If each of us take care of just one other person in somewhere, in your street, in your team, in your company or whatever, then probably it will solve a lot of problems in the world.
Sounds like you brought a little bit of Uganda back to the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's what I tried, and I did it by giving away money, but it can be done even easier. Not just money. It's not about money, but taking care of each other by just asking, how are you doing? Just by giving a helping hand, by, I don't know.
And is that also what you then put into your new initiative, Growing by Sharing?
Yeah, it's all about.
What is that? What is that?
Look after each other. That's all. There are two words in that phrase. That's growing. In my humble opinion, I think growing is something that's very positive, but it has to deal with growing on a personal level, like being a better person, being a happier person, a more open person, more vulnerable. Is that the correct word?
Yes.
But not growing by having more and more material stuff or more profit as a shareholder. So growing, that's in my world a very positive word, in combination with sharing. And sharing is for me synonym to look after each other, take care of each other, help each other. You're not alone. And I think the combination of growing and sharing, it's a positive. You go into a positive spiral in a way. If you grow, then it's easier to share, and if you share, it's an easy way to grow as a person, as a street, as a society, as a team. And before you know it, everything will be better. There are no big fights in your street team society or even in the world. There are probably there won't be wars anymore. Yeah, but that's a very big dream. Huh? That's a very big dream.
I think it's a non-issue. Everybody should have big dreams. And actually, I want to finish with 2 questions I have for you. Maybe you already gave that answer, but can you tell the audience, what does success mean to you?
Success means that you have reached a goal, and a goal sounds a bit maybe, or in my world, a goal is a dream that you reach a certain dream, but with other people, and that you can enjoy whatever you reached. And it's not about being the best, being the highest, being the whatever, but to succeed in something. And it's always, it has to deal with something that has to be sustainable for the long run, not short-term successes like we had the best week ever. No, something that is sustainable as a team, as a group, as a family. That's for me, that's success. And also with a lot of fun and passion. That's something what I brought into my company, for example, besides trust and own responsibility, is do whatever you are good at. And if you look around, most companies, they work with people, and they always the employees have to be to improve in something, or they have to deal with something they're not good at yet. And it's always negative energy. In my company, people can do whatever they do as long as they do what they are good at. And so that's, for me, that's success.
Okay. Hey, this actually leads...
Let people grow. Grow yourself, grow people around you.
This actually leads me to the last question I had is there any advice you would give young managers starting out on their own journey?
Ooh, that's a big question, because you have to be authentic and do whatever feels good for yourself. But I would say, to come back to trust, try to trust the people around you for the fully 100%. It will save you a lot of negative energy, and people around you will grow. They will feel and they will take their own responsibility. That's my message, more or less. Yeah, 100% trust, and it's free, guys. It's free. It won't cost you anything.
Great. I think that's a great advice. Indeed, give away something which is free, and you're a living proof of what that will result to. So, Allard, again, I would like to thank you much for sharing your knowledge in such a passionate way of what you've done. And you are successful, and actually by sharing. So a great initiative. Again, thank you for your time. And it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. And good luck, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.